Good evening. Here's what you missed in the last 24 hours. You had 17 videos worth catching up on, covering everything from revolutionary AI breakthroughs to Xbox's latest corporate shuffle, plus some genuinely impressive hardware reviews along the way. Starting with what might be the most technically impressive announcement, NVIDIA's Lyra 2 has Dr. Kerali Zalnai-Faher absolutely buzzing with excitement. This AI can transform a single photograph into an explorable 3D world that maintains consistency over time, solving what he calls the object permanence problem that has plagued AI-generated worlds. Unlike previous systems that would literally respond, "I don't know," when you looked away and back, Lyra 2 uses a clever per-frame 3D geometry cache system. Instead of maintaining one global 3D scene that degrades over time like photocopies of photocopies, it keeps separate 3D snapshots for each viewpoint and asks which earlier views saw this place best when you return to familiar areas. Zalnai-Faher was particularly impressed that both the model and code are available for free, though he noted current limitations around static scenes and photometric inconsistencies inherited from training data. His enthusiasm was infectious. This feels like a genuine breakthrough in AI-generated environments. On a lighter note, Brian Lunduke announced a limited-time sale on lifetime subscriptions to the Lunduke Journal, dropping the price from $300 to $129 through May 7th. What I found charming about this was Lunduke's completely self-aware approach. He freely admitted the main perk people want is getting on the exclusive, lifetime subscriber wall of shame, currently featuring a Solaris/CDE theme for those wanting to get on a UnixY wall. His tone was genuinely appreciative when discussing how subscriber support enables his independence from big tech companies, allowing him to pursue stories wherever they lead without bending to the will of Microsoft, IBM, Red Hat, and Amazon. He mentioned viewership has skyrocketed over the past year, reaching millions more views almost every month, but emphasized he couldn't do this work without subscriber support. The whole pitch felt refreshingly honest about what you're actually getting. Speaking of remarkable human abilities, Joy Milne delivered one of the most fascinating TED Talks I've seen in a while about her hereditary hyperosmia, a heightened sense of smell that allowed her to detect her husband's Parkinson's disease 12 years before his medical diagnosis. Milne's Scottish accent and deeply personal storytelling made this incredibly compelling. She traced her ability back to age 6 when her grandmother revealed this genetic trait, teaching her to identify individual volatiles, the chemical compounds that create odors. When she became a nurse in 1968, working with metal bedpans and open sputum containers in NHS Nightingale wards, her nose built what she calls her medical olfactory library. The breakthrough moment came at a Parkinson's meeting where she could differentiate between those with and without the disease throughout the room. This led to controlled T-shirt studies at Manchester, where she correctly identified all Parkinson's cases and even pre-diagnosed someone 6 months before clinical symptoms appeared. They've now developed a 5-minute diagnostic test using simple face and neck swabs that could identify Parkinson's much earlier than the current threshold of 50% neural damage. Staying with impressive demonstrations of capability, Tom from ICOR showcased their completely rebuilt MyICOR platform, a sophisticated membership and learning management system built entirely by his AI team using Claude. Tom was genuinely excited throughout the demo, and rightfully so. This isn't simple website generation, but a complex platform with entity-based discussions, custom video hosting, semantic search, and interconnected features that would normally require a full development team. What struck me most was their AI team structure that works like human teams, with Larry as the orchestrator delegating to specialists like Iris for design and Nalan for HR. They've processed over 2,000 participant samples for research and serve 4,700 members, with just Tom and co-founder Paco running operations. The platform includes sophisticated tools like their ICOR framework for mapping productivity tools and a tool finder showing real usage data filterable by job title and industry. Tom emphasized everything is tool-agnostic and works with any AI platform, not just Claude, positioning this as proof that AI has moved well beyond hype into practical applications. This connects perfectly to Nate from AI News and Strategy Daily's analysis of Stripe's latest agentic commerce announcement. Nate was genuinely excited about what he called the biggest shift we've seen in commerce patterns in 2 decades, power moving from sellers to buyers for the first time. He argued that the obvious headlines about agents buying coffee miss the real story. Agents arrive at merchants with formed intent rather than being persuaded through traditional sales funnels. Where humans tolerate ambiguity and are influenced by ads, agents need businesses to be legible enough to operate against product catalogs, prices, policies, and fulfillment constraints must all become part of the agent-facing surface. Stripe's Link's wallet for agents allows programmatic payment authority to travel with the buyer's task instead of waiting inside checkout flows. Nate emphasized this isn't just a shopping story, but an economic structure story. Companies, depending on persuading tired, frustrated buyers, are in trouble because agents will make emotional purchase moments less frequent. The internet economy will become more rational and efficient. Moving to hardware, Linus was genuinely impressed by the Flux keyboard that raised $3.08 on Kickstarter. A $530 aluminum keyboard with a built-in 1080p display beneath transparent keycaps. He frequently used enthusiastic language like, "so freaking cool," and "this is just about the coolest thing that I have ever seen," when demonstrating the display features. The keyboard offers infinite customizability through dynamic macro assignments, language switching, visual effects, and adjustable actuation points via analog Hall effect switches. However, Linus discovered some performance discrepancies. LTT Labs measured 10 milliseconds average input lag versus the claimed 12 milliseconds. Despite the high price point, he found the innovation genuinely impressive, noting the 97% transparency achieved through acrylic and the ability to watch himself on the keyboard display, calling it trippy and out-of-body-like. He suggested it's worthwhile if you can derive over $500 of extra productivity value, but recommended against it for most users due to cost. Wendell from Level 1 Techs reviewed another unique monitor, the BenQ RD280UG with its unusual 3:2 aspect ratio, designed specifically for programming. He started with playful skepticism about the marketing, but gradually warmed to genuine enthusiasm. The monitor's 3840x2560 resolution at 120 Hz includes extensive KVM functionality, up to 90 watts of USB-C charging, and programmable rear lighting. What impressed Wendell most was how well it worked for actual programming tasks. He's considering replacing his current 3-monitor setup with 2 of these in portrait mode. The matte finish is aggressively anti-glare without hurting text sharpness, and DDC-CI brightness control works perfectly on Linux. He found the monitor surprisingly well-calibrated out of the box and appreciated quality-of-life features like programmable touch buttons for switching between coding, movie, and gaming modes. Despite some cable routing issues and KVM quirks, he plans to buy a second unit for his own setup. On the Apple front, Max Tech delivered some frustrating news about 8 new Mac models in development being delayed by supply shortages. The presenter was clearly disappointed about the situation, particularly regarding OLED MacBook Pro delays. Apple's current Macs are selling so well due to AI demand that supply constraints are pushing most releases back, some potentially into 2027. The M5 Mac Mini, expected by WWDC, is now likely delayed to late summer or fall, with Apple discontinuing the base 256 GB model and forcing customers to buy the more expensive 512 GB version. The redesigned tandem OLED MacBook Pros with M6 chips are likely delayed until spring 2027 due to TSMC's new 2nm GAA-FET chip technology being in short supply, the same chips needed for the iPhone 18 series. The presenter noted that AI users crave memory above all else, making the Mac Studio extremely popular despite its high price point. David Bombal provided a methodical walkthrough of dual-booting Windows 11 and Ubuntu 26.04 LTS, emphasizing safety and preparation throughout. His tutorial-focused approach covered everything from downloading the 5.9 GB Ubuntu ISO to successfully configuring the Grub bootloader. He was particularly cautious about BitLocker warnings, explaining that Ubuntu cannot be installed while BitLocker is enabled, and emphasizing multiple times that viewers should back up their data before proceeding. The demonstration showed the complete process, including using Rufus for creating bootable USB media, partitioning through Windows Disk Management, and the Ubuntu installation process. He concluded by successfully demonstrating switching between both operating systems, confirming the dual boot setup works seamlessly for users wanting both Windows and Linux on a single machine. The presenter from Explaining Computers took a measured, pragmatic approach to analyzing optical storage in 2026, despite major manufacturers like Sony and Pioneer exiting the market. He demonstrated impressive longevity by testing a 24-year-old CDR from 2002 that still retained intact data, showing genuine satisfaction with the results. While acknowledging the market consolidation, Sony exited in January 2025, Pioneer sold to a Chinese company in March. He emphasized that optical discs remain viable for archival purposes with 50-plus-year retention. Verbatim has reaffirmed its commitment to optical storage, and archival-grade media continues to be available. However, he strongly recommended buying multiple Blu-ray drives while still available, as future supply looks uncertain with rising prices. His pricing analysis showed standard BDR discs cost under 4 cents per gigabyte, while still providing excellent longevity for backups. The presenter from Bellular News was clearly frustrated with Microsoft's latest Xbox rebrand from Microsoft Gaming back to Xbox under new CEO Ashish Sharma. He maintained a skeptical tone throughout, arguing this is mostly marketing spin around the same underlying strategy rather than meaningful change. Sharma's defining quote, "The plan is the plan until it's not the plan," led to leaked memos outlining Xbox's problems: frustrated players, slow console feature development, weak PC presence, and inadequate developer support. The new We Are Xbox campaign replaced the failed This is an Xbox messaging, but the presenter argued the fundamental issues remain. Gaming revenue is down 7% with Xbox hardware down 33%, largely due to Call of Duty issues and minimal new releases. His central point was that while Microsoft Gaming is dead, the Microsoft that killed it remains alive, the same Microsoft demanding margins and funding data centers. He concluded he would choose PlayStation over Xbox because PlayStation means more to Sony than Xbox means to Microsoft. Sam Evans from the Electric Viking maintained his confident, "I told you so" tone when discussing Volkswagen being forced to import Chinese-built EVs to Europe. He's been predicting this outcome for 5 years and seemed vindicated by events playing out exactly as expected. Volkswagen faces profit margins of just 4.3%, struggles in China, and severe overcapacity, forcing them to cut global capacity by 1 million units. CEO Oliver Bloom acknowledged on earnings calls that they're evaluating what own China products could fit for the European market, specifically mentioning the ID. Aura T6, SUV developed with FAW and the ID. Unix 9 produced by Xpeng. Evans praised the Xpeng collaboration for superior software compared to Volkswagen's non-existent, automated driving capabilities. He compared the process to drug addiction. Once companies start importing Chinese-built vehicles, they can't stop and eventually become rebadging operations. His prediction: within 10 years, most Volkswagen Group cars sold in Europe will be manufactured in China rather than Europe, marking what he calls the beginning of the end for Western automakers. The presenter from DIY Smart Code provided a fair, analytical comparison of Remotion versus HyperFrames, 2 competing frameworks for programmatic video creation in the AI agent era. Both are designed for AI agents to write video code instead of humans, but take philosophically different approaches. Remotion uses React JSX with 45,000 GitHub stars over 5 years, requiring complex setup with hundreds of packages and build steps. HyperFrames launched open source in April 2026 with 14,000 stars in weeks, using plain HTML with data attributes that browsers play natively. The technical innovation is HyperFrames' frame adapter that hijacks the browser's internal clock, forcing animation libraries to step through frames manually rather than real-time execution. Performance comparisons on clean machines showed Remotion taking 50 seconds to first video versus HyperFrames 7 seconds. The presenter recommended Remotion for React engineers with component libraries and distributed rendering needs, while HyperFrames suits AI agent workflows with zero setup friction and unconditional Apache 2 licensing. SmartyRBX's stream had a casual, spontaneous energy as he dealt with technical issues while setting up. He was genuinely surprised by the viewer turnout despite his infrequent streaming schedule, explaining he prefers spontaneous streams over rigid schedules. While struggling with Mac image downloading for thumbnails, he launched into YouTube strategy advice, emphasizing that successful creators should repeatedly cover popular topics rather than avoiding them due to repetition concerns. Using Mr. Beast as an example, he argued audiences want familiar topics delivered repeatedly rather than constant novelty. The main topic about why Roblox developers should never work alone was teased as an important lesson he'd recently learned, though the actual discussion wasn't covered in this portion. His overall message to content creators was clear. If a topic gets views, make 50 more videos on that subject rather than moving on. Unfortunately, we're missing the transcript content for Cormac Brick's presentation on tiny LLMs and agents on edge devices with LiteRT-LM from Google at the AI Engineer Conference. This would have covered important developments in running AI models efficiently on edge devices, which is increasingly relevant as AI capabilities move closer to end users. Similarly, we're missing Peter Werry's presentation from Unblocked about building context engines to save time and tokens with their Mergeable by default approach. This likely covered important techniques for optimizing AI model efficiency and cost management in production environments. Finally, there appears to have been a transcription error with Patrick Debois. Context is the new code presentation from Tessl, as the provided transcript was from an unrelated religious service rather than the expected technical content about software development and AI engineering topics. That covers the major developments from your 17 videos. The standout themes were AI capabilities moving beyond hype into practical applications, hardware innovation in both keyboards and monitors, and some concerning supply chain issues affecting both optical storage and Apple's Mac lineup. The missing technical presentations from the AI Engineer Conference would have rounded out the technical coverage nicely.